When you were a kid, did you ever used to get one of those magazines from maybe Target or Toys R Us? R.I.P. Toys R Us. But you ever used to get one of those magazines and you just started circling as you went through the pages? You saw all these cool things, you just started circling what you wanted for Christmas. I can remember sitting at the kitchen table, circling almost everything on every page. Oh, that looks really cool. Oh, I want one of those. Oh, I wish I had that. Oh, I wish I had this. And I can remember circling and circling so much that when Christmas actually came and I started to open up my gifts, I couldn't even remember if that was something that I had circled before or not. Recently, my two oldest kids, we gave them a Target magazine because we need some ideas to tell the grandparents and things of what they want for Christmas. And so we sat down with them and gave them a pen and just let them go to town and circle some things that they wanted. And can you believe that they literally did the exact same thing I did? They just started circling anything that looked cool, circling almost every single thing on every single page. My son started circling anything that had to do with dinosaurs or Lightning McQueen. My daughter, she started circling things that had to do with makeup, Disney princesses, vanity. She already has a vanity. Why does she want another vanity? She just started circling all kinds of things. But have you ever realized and wondered, why is it that we always tend to want more? What is it about life that makes contentment so difficult? What is it about our hearts that always want what we don't have? And why do we find ourselves scrolling through social media, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, wishing we had the life that other people have? Well, over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about contentment. And today, we're talking about what it looks like to understand the secret of contentment. We're going to jump in a passage in Philippians 4, and I want to kind of set this up for you, okay? So the book of Philippians is written by the Apostle Paul. It was actually written to the church in Philippi. Now, what had happened is the church in Philippi wanted to support Paul's missionary ministry. They wanted to give him financial blessing to help support him as he lived his life for the gospel, proclaiming the gospel everywhere that he went. So they sent him a love offering. They sent him a bunch of money to help support him. And that money was received by Paul while he was actually in prison. And Paul receives this gift from the church of Philippi, and he decides to write them a letter telling them thank you, and then giving them some instruction and some encouragement. And so that's where we pick up here in Philippians chapter 4, verses 10 through 13. He says this, he says, I rejoiced greatly in the Lord that at last you renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstance. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. Now, Paul is saying, first and foremost, thanks. Thanks for showing your concern, your renewed concern for me. And you didn't have a chance before to show it, but now you showed it by just financially blessing me. He's saying thanks, but don't get it twisted. What he's also saying here is my times of poverty, my times of imprisonment, they've actually been my biggest teachers in life. He talks about living in times of prosperity and having much. And we know that while he's writing this letter, he's in a season of extreme poverty and in a season of struggle. He's writing this letter from prison. And yet he's talking about that he has learned the secret of contentment. So what is it? What is that secret of contentment that Paul talks about? It's very simple. Contentment is the simple dependence on the one who strengthens me. That's what Paul is saying. Contentment is the simple dependence on the one who strengthens me. That's what Paul is talking about. That is the secret to contentment, is being dependent not on ourselves, not on our circumstances, not on whether or not we have much or whether or not we only have a little bit, but it's the simple dependence on the one who strengthens me. You see, we like to use that verse, Philippians 4:13, in all kinds of ways, and we pull it out of context all the time. We say things about when we're gaining something for ourselves, we want to throw that verse in there. Kind of like, I'm going to get an A on this test because, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Or we say things like, I'm going to make the basketball team because, Philippians 4:13. Or I'm going to achieve this, or I'm going to gain that, or I'm going to get that promotion or get that raise, or I'm going to get this. I'm going to get, achieve. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. And students, Paul wrote, he's teaching us that the verse he wrote is in the middle of prison cell, not because he wanted believers to somehow think that we can do all these great things. But he's teaching us the secret of contentment. The secret is that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That the simple dependence on the one who strengthens me. That is what contentment looks like. So what is the opposite of contentment? Well, obviously, discontentment, right? Have you ever been discontent in life? But this is what I want you to understand. Discontentment is a poison to your heart. Discontentment is a poison to your heart. It says this in Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So how do we do that? How do we guard our heart? Well, very simply. Number one, stop comparing your everyday life to everyone else's highlight reel. Stop comparing your everyday life to everyone else's highlight reel. What do I mean by that? When we scroll through social media, what do we see? Everyone else's highlight reel. Everybody else's great days. Everybody else's best days. It's kind of like, if you ever watch the NFL draft or the NBA draft, what they'll do is they will announce a player who's been drafted, maybe number 1 overall, or in the second round, the 37th pick, or whatever it is. And every time they announce a player, what they do then is they begin to show that player's highlight reel. And they show you all these great and amazing plays that player has done and achieved throughout their collegiate career or whatever they were playing overseas, whatever it is. Now, if you only look at their highlight reels, you can make a case that every single player should be drafted number 1 overall. I mean, look at their highlight reel. Look at that dunk. Look at that block. Look at that interception. Look at that a tackle for a loss. Look at all these great things that they do. Obviously, they're the best player in the draft. Now, we know that's not how it works, though, right? Because analysts begin to talk and they begin to share about their strengths and their weaknesses. They begin to share about what really happens as them as a player. You don't truly know them as a player if all you see is their highlight reels. And in the same way, as you scroll through social media, and you look through Instagram and you scroll through your stories, all you're seeing is everyone else's highlight reels. But yet we find ourselves discontent and comparing ourselves to everyone else. Students, comparison kills contentment. Comparison kills contentment. If you begin to compare your everyday life with everyone else's highlight reels, you will quickly be poisoning your heart with more and more discontentment. You will spiral down a path of loneliness, fear, depression, anxiety. All of those things stem from us comparing ourselves to others and not understanding the key, the secret to contentment. So, how do we embrace contentment? What do we do in order to embrace contentment? Well, just like Paul said, the simple dependence on the one who strengthens me. That is the secret of contentment. So if that is the secret of contentment, then every single morning we have to wake up and clothe ourselves with Christ. Every morning we wake up and say, God, help me to recognize the blessings that you've given me. Help me to recognize and be thankful for all of the things that I do have. Help me to recognize and be thankful for the gospel, for the fact that I have messed up and you have made a way for me to be made perfect. That in and of itself is how we are dependent upon the one who strengthens us. Every single day, we need to wake up and say, God, strengthen me. Because in my weakness, your strength is perfected. And I am so weak. If I try and do this day, just this one day of my life, if I try and do this one day of my life on my own, I am going to fail miserably. Students, every single morning, wake up and plead for God to strengthen you. Rely on him. Depend on him. Depend on him for your daily bread, and depend on him to fill you with joy. Depend on him for every single need that you have each and every day. Ask God to teach you what a simple dependence on the one who strengthens you looks like. Ask him to help guard your heart and watch him show you what it means to truly do all things through Christ who strengthens you.